Hello everyone, my name is Atana Lakaja. I'm here with Peter Lassey from the White Ribbon Organisation. Today we're just going to be talking about what the White Ribbon Organisation means for the University of Bradford, what its accreditation will mean to us as a university and as a student body in itself. So, we're here with me, I have Peter Lassey. My first question with you is, what is White Ribbon and what does the organisation stand for?
Okay, thanks. Let me first say that I'm not only here as White Ribbon, but I'm also a lecturer at this university. I teach film and media, and I've been here since I think 2003. White Ribbon is a passion of mine. I'm chair of White Ribbon UK, and have been for about a year or so.
Okay.
For longer than that, I've been trying to get the University of Bradford interested in becoming an accredited White Ribbon institution.
Okay. So it was you that started off the whole campaign within Bradford.
So I've been trying to get the university to move on this for some time, and although let's say there's been a lot of goodwill, it's never
really kicked off.
It's never really got started.
Okay.
So just an understanding of who I am and where I'm from. So White Ribbon is a campaign really to get men, all men, boys, to think about their relationship with women and girls. It's especially around domestic violence. So it's really getting men to make a pledge that they will never commit, excuse, or remain silent about violence against women and girls. And I guess that what follows on from that is why do we need it? Well, we need it because domestic violence is mainly perpetrated by men. Yes, there are some men that are subject to domestic violence, but the vast majority of perpetrators of domestic violence are men.
Yes.
And so therefore the way to fix that has to be about men standing up and talking to their fellow men to say, actually, there's some behaviours that are just not appropriate and we're not going to stand for it. So it's really about changing culture and attitudes and behaviour.
Do you think the whole White Ribbon accreditation has gotten more powerful ever since the Me Too movement has come along and the rise of social media, so people can actually see the effects of such as domestic violence, sexual assault against women? Do you think the Me Too campaign kind of helps the White Ribbon campaign as well?
Absolutely. The White Ribbon campaign has been around for a long time, and it's not just a UK-wide campaign. It started in Canada, and there's White Ribbon around the world. And I'd recommend anyone watching to go to White Ribbon UK. Just put it into a Google browser, and you'll get our website, and you'll find out everything that you need to know about White Ribbon. But getting back to your question, yes, Me Too has really again brought this to the fore. The interesting thing about Me Too is that it's got a lot of publicity and a lot of press, but it's the same message that's been going out for years and years from women all over the world that are saying that they're being oppressed, they're being abused, and this has become commonplace. Now, at White Ribbon, we recognise that it's not going to change unless men change it. Men need to be part of the answer. It's not a women-only issue. And
Yes.
Part of the reason for that is really quite simple. Most men, like I'm sure you, like me, would not dream of having anything to do with domestic violence and abuse of women. The problem is the people that are perpetrators of domestic violence have a very skewed view of what a woman is, and that view and that prejudice that they've got means that however many women say that this is wrong, they will not take any notice of it. But when their friends and colleagues who are men say, actually, this is wrong, it can help change that culture. Okay. So that's the reason why White Ribbon is so important.
Now, you said that White Ribbon means a lot to you. I would like to ask, how did you get involved with White Ribbon initially?
Well, initially, so many times when we talk to ambassadors, they have a point in their life where something really had an impact on them, and that gave them a spur to join White Ribbon. For me, it wasn't that.
Okay.
It was I have a friend who I play football with, and he was saying to me, he says, "Oh, I'm," at the time he was, he was the founder of White Ribbon, and he was telling me about the campaign, and it was just finding out about the campaign and realizing, actually, I agree with everything that you're saying. And he made a challenge to me. He says, "Well, what are you going to do about it, Peter, if you agree?" And I think that's what made me think, actually, it's not enough just to say, I agree with the campaign. It's really up to me to actually do something about that.
To take charge.
And well, not necessarily to take charge. I wanted to see what would be the best way I can do that. So I became an ambassador.
Okay.
I joined the trustees of the organisation to try and see how we can develop it and expand White Ribbon, to see how we can make it more sustainable and grow. Because White Ribbon is, the success of White Ribbon is about the success of getting that awareness in men about the issues about domestic violence and what they can do and how they can provide solidarity to women in these sorts of situations. So it was really him saying, "Well, what are you got to do about it, Peter?" And it made me think. And I would hate to think that my wife or my daughter were subject to any of the sorts of abuse that we see as commonplace in our society.
Okay. So you said that you knew the founder. Was that just the founder of like a UK base, or was this
He
did
founded-
he actually start the organisation itself?
Yeah, he founded White Ribbon UK. So White Ribbon had been around for a while. It started in Canada, and it's been in a number of countries. And it was something that that my friend Chris took up and realised, actually, this is something that he wanted to do. And he'd spent a lot of time in developing and building the White Ribbon within the UK.
Okay. I know that you've obviously talked about being an ambassador. You talked about your friend Chris being the founder of the White Ribbon UK movement. Can you explain more about the organisation structure? So, who's in charge? How does the decision-making process? How is it assessed, and who's held accountable?
Okay, so it's a registered charity, so we're accountable to the Charity Commission. It's a very small organisation. We only have 3 members of staff.
Okay.
So sometimes, we have a nice website and we have lots of people that work for us, but they're volunteers. They are men like you and me, up and down the country, who have said, actually, we think this is important. I want to do something about it, and they become ambassadors. And the role of ambassadors is to spread the word, and that might be to have stalls. It might be to go and speak to groups. Often one of the sorts of things that we target is specifically male groups, so sporting organisations, football, rugby, places where you get groups of men together, and we go and talk to them and say, actually, this is what the campaign's about. Do you support it? Can you support it? And can you tell other men? It's really about, you try and think back to 20 years ago. It was commonplace.
I wasn't even born.
You wasn't even born then. Well, 20 years ago, it was commonplace for people to smoke everywhere.
Yeah.
It was not seen as a problem. And now there's been a cultural shift. It gets to a point where people just see it as unacceptable behaviour. So now people can still smoke, but they've got to do it in the privacy of their own home or in where it's not going to affect other people. Now, in the same way, what we want to do is make sure that domestic violence and the misogyny that creates domestic violence is something which is culturally unacceptable, and that's done by men not accepting it. So when there's a group of men in the pub and they're having a laugh, like you do, like I do, and it's the same way that if you hear someone making a racist joke or making racist comments, you would intervene and say, actually, that's not appropriate, and call them out. We've got to do the same when it comes to people talking derogatory about women.
Okay.
And so it's the same sort of thing. We're trying to get that cultural shift.
Okay. Now, obviously, you've explained how the organisation, the charity itself, is kind of not male dominated, but male orientated. So they focus a lot on the men's side and how talking to men, going out to specific groups, talking to men, and how they can be a part of White Ribbon. With such a sensitive subject such as domestic violence and violence against women in general, it is very important to make sure that you have, whenever you're a charity and just trying to provide awareness and spread awareness about a certain marginalized group and oppressed group, it's always important to have an input from a member of that oppressed group. So are there any women involved in the White Ribbon charity?
When I said that we've got 3 members of staff, they're all women.
Okay.
We have women on our trust as our trustees. We have women that are involved in the campaign throughout. So we have ambassadors who are men, but we also have champions who are women.
Okay.
So one of the problems is, why is it a male-focused organisation? It's because we've got to get that male voice to stand up and hand in hand with our sisters, with our daughters, with our wives, with our partners. So we have to have it has to be male-led. But having said that, we work in tandem with all the established charities for women. So all the domestic violence we work with, we run projects with. So on our website we have all the links to rape crisis and all those sorts of things. When we have stalls where we're going out and talking to the general public, quite often we'll have women that'll come up to us and say, actually, I've been a victim of domestic violence or coercive control, and it's very little that we can do other than make sure that we've got advice and guidance for them. So we always carry with us cards with telephone numbers where they can get appropriate advice, because we recognise that actually, we're walking hand in hand with women to try and reverse this problem.
Okay. My next question is now, obviously you're part of the staff in the Bradford University and you're obviously a White Ribbon ambassador. Do you think Bradford is the right place for this campaign?
Absolutely. Not only is Bradford the right place, but everywhere where there is misogyny and is the right place. So, to give you an example about Bradford, Bradford is a beacon compared to many places in the country. Bradford Council is a White Ribbon Council. Bradford College is a White Ribbon College. We've run lots of campaigns. We have from every community in Bradford, we have ambassadors who are working in those communities to make sure that we get that message out.
Okay. Now, in terms of the organisational structure, you've kind of explained that you currently have 3 staff at the moment, and the rest of the people made up of the whole organisation and the charity are volunteers, as is common with most charities. Can you talk more about the balance of ethnic minorities within the campaign, as some people have kind of seen the White Ribbon campaign as having a predominantly white-faced campaign? So can you say if you just dispel that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I'd probably say, I mean, we don't. I can't say that I can give you information about how many ambassadors we've got from different ethnic minorities, but I would say probably half, if not the majority, of ambassadors in Bradford are from BME backgrounds. So we have lots and lots of it's not, race is not important in this issue, because the issue is about, do we want people who are white to be ambassadors? Yes. Do we want people who are black, Chinese? I don't care. If they're men, they should be part of this campaign. And my issue is that there is no good reason why any man should not say, actually, it is wrong to abuse women. Simple. I mean, I found out Chris, I was talking about, he's just come back from Africa and spent some time in Ghana, and we've been supporting the Ghana White Ribbon campaign, and we're looking to make, this is a worldwide campaign, and it's for every man to be involved. until the day when we don't have an issue.
Okay. I know you said that obviously you don't care about whatever the race of the men are, or the people who are involved in the campaign, as long as they are involved. The only reason I ask is because a lot of the times, well, not a lot of the times, but in certain ethnic areas, so certain countries within Asia or Africa, there are higher rates of women who are facing domestic violence compared to their white counterparts due to societal issues, cultural issues. So do you think that the campaign can have a really deep impact, seeing as this is a majority ethnic minority type of community? Do you think it can have a really deep impact due to cultural differences?
Look, I understand that the issues that that women have in terms of abuse is multiplied once you add other issues on top of that. So if the woman is black, then she will get more abuse than if the woman is white. If the woman is black and the woman is gay or any of those sorts of
External factors.
any of those sorts of things will mean that they suffer for more abuse. That means it's even more important that we make sure that this campaign is look. The campaign is run by the people that feel that this is important. Now, I feel that it's incredibly important to all men to do that, because you cannot be a fully rounded and proper individual. You can't have a proper relationship with a woman unless you are on an equal footing with that woman.
100%.
If you don't see that, if you see the women and girls in your life as not on an equal footing as you, then you will never obtain that sort of level of trust and love that that everyone has a right to.
100%.
Right.
There won't be a cause for a equal and healthy relationship if you don't get rid of any aversions as to a woman and her status in this world. I 100% agree with you. My next question kind of goes towards lad culture, and I'm not sure if you follow politics, but last year, as the now President Donald Trump was making his run as president, his bid, he was kind of talking about how some allegations came out about how he did inappropriate things with women, so and such, and he kind of referenced it to being locker room talk, and that kind of goes back to the whole lad culture, the whole sports culture. So how does White Ribbon intend to take on and reform the lad culture in Bradford?
Okay, so well, I mean, I think look, it's not just Bradford. It's we want to do this across the country. So as I said earlier, one of the things that we try and do is we try and look at targeting those particular places. So for instance, Wigan Warriors, one of the biggest and well-known rugby league teams in the country, are White Ribbon supporters.
Okay.
And they're accredited. We've got football teams like Newport County. Lots of football teams have come forward and have become White Ribbon organisations. So they're going to their mainly male group of fans and supporters and saying, actually, White Ribbon's important and we support White Ribbon.
Okay.
So part of it is about looking at from those higher levels and getting ambassadors who can really connect with those young people who follow those sorts of sports. But the other is really going and talking to groups of lads in those areas. So, for instance, in becoming a White Ribbon accredited organisation, one of the things that we would like to do at the University of Bradford is to encourage the Students' Union to have discussions with all their sports groups to say, actually, can we'd like you to support White Ribbon, and this is why, and sort of and make those sorts of connections.
And even supporting White Ribbon can go easily. It's just having a conversation. The next time you're around one of your male friends and they make an inappropriate joke about women, you can just be like, you know what, I don't think that's appropriate. Like you said before, that can be as simple as that, as helping White Ribbon. You don't really need to, let's say, go around the world doing all these little talks. It starts small.
And it's also about giving people the tools. So one of the things that we do in White Ribbon is when someone to become an ambassador, we train all our ambassadors. And part of that training is about giving them the tools to do things. So one of the problems that you get, talking about being in a pub and people making inappropriate remarks, it's about how you deal with that in that sort of situation, because it's quite a difficult thing to deal with.
Yep.
If there's a group of lads and and it's the same with racism, it's the same with any of those sorts of things. In that sort of lad culture, to try and address it can mean you become an outcast. So it's about having the conversations and not having those conversations in a way that it creates violence or because one of the tendency for men is to react to things has always been in a violent way. So it's about giving tools. So it's about how you deal with people who are being disrespectful to women. So we look at bystander training. So, for instance, if you see someone on a bus, a woman who's been verbally abused by someone who's a guy, it's probably not the best way to go up and have a go at that guy. A better way might be to go and sit next to the woman, start a conversation with a woman, showing your solidarity in a different way, which then changes the dynamic of the situation, and then makes the sort of perpetrator to think again. And so there are lots of different ways that you can do, which can diffuse situations, change situations, and provide that sort of solidarity without it becoming a problem.
Okay. How can people who are interested in the campaign get involved?
Really easy. Type in White Ribbon UK into a browser. It will take you to our website. There's a big button on our website saying, how can I help? And it will take you through. If you want to become an ambassador, you can do that straight away. If you want to sign the pledge to never commit, excuse or remain silent about violence against women. If you want to, you can make the pledge. You can sign up to be an ambassador. If you want to be an ambassador, there is training. It's online training, so you can do it. It probably takes about 15 minutes or so. And then you can sign up to be an ambassador. What happens when you're an ambassador is that you then become part of our network. If someone locally wants someone to come and talk to people about White Ribbon, we can then say, oh, actually, we've got an ambassador locally, and then we can contact you as an ambassador and say, go and talk to this group. Or if there's an event happening near them, we can say, we're doing a White Ribbon event. As an ambassador, you might be interested in going along. We have an annual conference where we invite all our ambassadors to go. As an accredited organisation, if University of Bradford becomes an accredited organisation, it would mean that the university and the Students' Union, it would have violence policies and processes, so that if any woman who's a member of staff or a student is subject to domestic violence or abuse, they would have a recognised mechanism for dealing with it. Anyone who sees domestic violence or abuse at Bradford as a member of staff or a student would have a mechanism for addressing that, and there would be proper support for all women. So that's one of the reasons why I want it. But it also, as an accredited organisation, would be that we would have a responsibility to spread this message for all students. So the sort of things that we could do is integrate consent discussions into classes, into the way, I know that students' unions have done consent workshops before, but the problem is it doesn't get to the people that we want it to get to. So often the people that come along are people that already know what the issues are. What we need to do is make sure that all students understand issues around consent, and we can, those sorts of things we should be building into the curriculum, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think, so what you're saying is just more about making a bigger effort than what's already being done.
It's really about the university and the Students' Union thinking together about how we can best make this a better, safer, more equitable place to live and learn. And that's what we want to do with White Ribbon.
Okay. Well, for everyone that's listening and for everyone that's watching, as Peter kindly said, White Ribbon UK, take that into any browser, and if you want to be a part of the campaign, you can. You just go from there. Thank you very much for doing this interview.
And just to say that if anyone wants to talk to me, I work in Horton. You can find me on P.Lassey at bradford.ac.uk. Just email me. You're interested in being involved in the campaign, just let me know, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you. Cheers.